The massage ball is a great tool to release tension in the body. So I'm going to work through a routine that covers from the feet all the way through to the fingertips. So we're going to start on the foot and we're going to work around a 5 to 7 out of 10. So you want to find where the tension is. I'm just rolling forward and back. Ideally with the foot you should be able to get to the point where you can stand on it comfortably. At the beginning it's going to be very painful, but as you do it more and more you're going to find that you can release that tension. It's not so bad and you can improve the health and integrity of the tissues in the foot. You want the feet to be flexible and strong and pliable and be able to provide suspension for the whole body, and keeping those tissues healthy is part of that. The pressure you're applying is going to allow for the release of tension and allow for nutrition to get into the areas that are stiff and tight. So here I'm using a pinning technique. I'm going to push down and I'm going to actively move the toe, and that'll slide the muscle between the bone and the ball, releasing it. Now I'm going to come down into the calves. So I'm just starting here, working from the Achilles tendon right up to behind the knee. So I'm just going to scan through, find any tight spots. When I get a good spot, I'm going to pin it and then release. Use that same technique. Go a bit higher. Usually around 2 to 3 spots in each muscle is quite good. If you've got a problem area and you want to spend longer on it, that's great. I try and teach people to use this as a 5-minute routine, so that way they can be more consistent with it and learn how to release the tension in their own body. Once you get that down, then you can focus more on the areas that you need and you get to know your own body. But at the beginning, it's really a process of learning how to release that tension. So I'm going to work through the perineals there. You can do some cross fiber work as well if you get a good spot. You can work into the tibialis anterior in the front of the shin. That's quite good too. And you can flex and extend. Find where that tension is and release. So you want to make sure that you do it equally on both sides and compare left to right. So this whole process is a self-assessment of the tension levels in your body as well. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on each area and just getting a feel of what's going on and learning how to release that tension from your own body. This routine works really well after an Epsom salt bath for 20 minutes. You'll find you'll get a much better release if you're fortunate enough to have a bath. If not, it's good to just do it anyway. The time of day to do it, you could do it first thing in the morning to get your body loosened up for the day. You could do it just before you go to sleep to help put your tissues into a better position to heal through the night. You can do it post-workout. The main thing is to get it done, but doing it for when it's more purposeful for you is obviously important. So here I'm going into the hamstring. I'm going to go right up to the top into the attachment. I can cross fiber there, can work up and down the hamstring. Now if this is a little bit uncomfortable doing it like this, you can do it on a chair, on a raised surface, so you can do the flexion and extension of the knee and get in a bit deeper. It works quite well. We can get into the belly of the muscle. The more the lateral hamstrings or medial hamstrings go all the way down to the knee. Just make sure you do both sides and get a feel for there. Now the ball is kind of like a good elbow, in between an elbow and a good thumb. It's quite sharp, so you do need to be careful not to overdo it and bruise yourself when you're starting out. As you get better and the tissues become more accustomed to that pressure, you can start pushing a bit harder. But the goal of it is to release tension, not create more tension, and not to hurt your body. It's to allow your body to heal and regenerate itself. So I'm going to come into the glutes now. You want to fold, if I'm using the ball on the right glute, I'm going to fold the right ankle over the left knee, so that way it opens up that hip. Now if that's really uncomfortable for you, you can keep that foot down and you're just controlling the amount of pressure that you're putting into the ball. Just use the breath. And then exhale, sink into it, relax, let all that tension out. So you want to trace that iliac crest across there, hit all those glute medius, glute minimus, glute maximus, and then you want to get deep into the piriformis in there. Find where it's tight. And then mirror that on the other side. Find where it's tight there. And release it. This works quite well to release all that tension in the hips. Most people have a decent amount of tension in there that builds up just from stabilizing and being on one leg when you're walking or just standing. If you're training, it's definitely going to get tight through there, or if you're not moving enough, you'll get tight through there. Then we're going to work through the spine. So, start at the bottom and work your way up. You can dig it nice and deep in there. You just want to be careful to be on either side of the spine in the muscles. So I'm going to release that tension, breathe into it, relax, sink down into the ball, and let that muscle open up. Work my way up. And you can go left and right. You can do a bit more of one side than the other before you change. I like to just keep changing left to right as I work my way up. And be a little bit dynamic, kind of move it around, and then if I get a good spot, just sink into it. And just like you use the pinning technique with the calves or with the bottom of the foot, the hamstring, you can just do flexion and extension in the spine. So you tuck the butt under, let it arch, tuck it under. Just find where it's tight, use the breath. And relax, and you want to breathe nice and deep in through the nose, out through the nose ideally, just so you're getting a nice parasympathetic rest digest response to help the tissues relax more. So you want to work your way up the erectors in the spine. Once you kind of get into the ribs, then you can either use a crunch technique. So if I come up to around here, you can do a crunch and an extension over it. Once you get in between the shoulder blades, then you'll use the arm raise movements to release the tension. So I can come up like that, reach across, reach out to the side. And it's up to you how long you want to spend, but my advice to people is just be consistent at the beginning. Try and do it more frequently and learn how to use the ball as a tool. Because if you spend half an hour doing some release work, you'll feel great, but then you'll think in the back of your mind, you think, well, I just don't have time to do that. And it just slips away. Once you stop doing something for around 2 weeks, it's no longer part of your routine. So I find that it's so important to get people to do things that they want to integrate as a lifestyle more frequently at the beginning, and then you can probably get away with doing it once a week if it's just management and you're doing some foam rolling and you're feeling pretty good. But yeah, I would get in the habit of doing it daily as you're learning it, so you can get it down and really get to understand your body and how to release the tension. When you get into the upper traps through here, you can turn the head side to side, flex and extend. Raise the arm up and down, just use some different techniques, side bend, just to try and release those muscles through there. Use the breath, sink into it. You can bridge up onto it to get a bit more pressure, but usually you'll find it's pretty tight in there. Most people carry a lot of tension through the neck and the shoulders. When they get a bit higher, you can come up in the neck. It's a little bit hard when you're in the curve of the neck to get pressure. So you've got to kind of work around onto it. Bring the chin in, extend. Have a feel on both sides. Use the hand pressure from the arms to put a bit more weight into it. Relax down onto it. With all release techniques like this, you want to wait for a release if you find a good spot. So say I've got some tension in my suboccipitals up here. Get a bit of pressure there, take a big breath. And I should feel a sense of release and relief, so that way the tissues are letting go of the tension. The breath is so important, just to stop the body from becoming too tight, just in general, and to stay relaxed. So the more you can breathe through your nose into your belly nice and deep, and then breathe out and slow that respiratory rate down, the better, just for general health. So those all work pretty well. Now, we're down in the lower back and the hips before. You can come around into the side of the hips and get into there, into the TFL, tensor fasciae lata. That's pretty nasty. The glute medius there. Come a bit more into the front. Now you can use it on the quads. It does work quite well. It's a bit strong for a lot of people to use it on the quads. It's a lot sharper than the foam roller. So I prefer people to use the foam roller at the beginning, but if you've got a targeted spot you want to get into, it can work quite well there as well. Come through the tendons right at just above the kneecap. Works really well. For the upper limb, so if you're doing a lot of ring work, you can get a lot of tension through your forearms and through the elbow. So coming down onto the ground and releasing that works really well. So digging in deep, if you get a good spot, you can flex and extend the wrist, open it up, apply a bit more pressure, get into the hand as well, just like you would with the feet. And release that tension, quite good. And just like you do the shins, you can do the back of the forearm. Flex and extend, get into the extensors there. Triceps are also quite good, especially the tricep tendon if you're doing dips and push-ups and getting some tension in there. This can help alleviate that if it's built up just from a bit of excess training or loading, and just help speed up that recovery process. It is very common when people start out with ring work to overdo it, especially if they're learning muscle ups and pull-ups and handstands. They'll overwork the forearms and they end up with some forearm tendonitis. So having these techniques is really important to ensure that that doesn't happen, or if it does, to get over it quickly. You can get into the front of the shoulder, works really well. It's nice. Into the chest, through there, just coming down, working onto that, works really well. Just important to use that breath to take the tension out. The lat works okay. The roller works quite well. You can get it in the upper portions where you get tight, and then also here in the back of the shoulder and all those rotator cuff muscles. So you've got the external rotators you can get into there. So infraspinatus, supraspinatus, you can get into teres major, teres minor. Find where the tension is. Usually you'll get some really nasty spots in there. But if you can get that routine down daily, learn how to use this as a tool to alleviate tension, and then be able to focus on the areas that you need, you're going to be able to recover a lot faster, enjoy your training a lot more, and have this as a tool that you can use for the rest of your life. Enjoy.